guys, so my Kylie order finally arrived. It's been sitting in my room for like 2 days, but I wanted to unbox this with you guys, and at the same time I wanted to do a Valentine's Day inspired look since it is Valentine's Day on Friday. So we're going to unbox this package right now, and we're going to have the first impressions, you and I, of this palette. And I also bought the Kylie liner in the shade brown just because it looks very interesting. So let's do that right now. This is actually my first order from Kylie Cosmetics, so I have my expectations pretty high, even though I've seen some unboxings and I love their packaging. It's very cute. I'm so eager to open this palette and swatch it already. I've seen it all over social media and it's so cute, and I love that it's inspired by Stormi, and the colors are just, I'm obsessed. I haven't even seen the real palette and I'm already obsessed. So this is what the packaging looks like. It says Stormi right there in like a glittery purple. So here's the actual palette and what it looks like. I'm obsessed with the butterfly detailing, so let's open it at the same time. Let me scooch over. That is actually so stunning. So this is what the actual palette looks like. I'm gagging over these colors, especially this purple one here. I think I've never been so excited over a palette in my life. I'm going to do a swatch from these shades so I can show you guys what they look like. And then we're gonna dive right into the makeup look so we don't waste any more time. So this palette actually retails for $28, and it features metallic and matte formulas, but actually the shade in the middle, which is called Stormy Weather, it kind of looks like a metallic foil kind of formula. So I want to swatch that and see how it looks in my arm. And I'm really excited to play around with this palette because the purples in here are just calling my name. So this is how the shades swatched. I'm very surprised by the shimmer pigments because they are not creasing. They're actually very creamy, which is kind of hard to do for a palette. The mattes look really nice too, but I had to swatch them like 2 or 3 times to get a good color payout. But in general, I'm loving these shades right here. Okay guys, so now that we've swatched the shades, let's get on with the makeup. So I already prepped my face using the Philosophy Ultralight Moisturizer. I also used the MAC Strobe Cream to get that really glowy look. And lastly, I used the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer, which is oil-free, and that's great for me because my T-zone tends to get really greasy, and this helps a lot with that. So I'll usually get started with my foundation, and so I'm going to be using the Real Techniques Beauty Sponge and the Fenty Beauty Foundation in the shade 300. This is the original formula that they came out with. I like to do a pump and a half of foundation because I like when my makeup has coverage, but not like that full coverage that actually looks like house paint. I don't like that. So I'll just go with a pump and a half, and I'll use my Morphe flat top brush in, this is the MB6, and I'll just start applying it. Oh wait, forgot to rub my hair back. I'll just clip these in. Okay, now that we're ready and we have our hair clips in, let's do our foundation. So as I was saying, I will be using the Morphe flat top brush. This is the MB6, and I'll just pick a little bit with the brush and start spreading it around my face like so. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have a mirror right here because I cannot see myself in the viewfinder. It's too far away. Also, don't forget the neck. There have been way too many times that I've gone outside of my house and I haven't put my foundation throughout my neck, and you can visibly see the line in which my face divides from the rest of my body. So that I think you want to avoid. So drag your foundation always to almost like to the middle of your neck so it blends in with the rest of your body. So I'm done putting this paint face on. Now I'm going to use my beauty sponge to kind of blend in any harsh streaks that the brush may have left behind. You're just gonna dab it on your face like so, very gently, because you don't want to take away that layer of foundation that you just put. Okay, next up is going to be concealer. I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way Naturally Radiant Concealer in the shade Medium. It's actually medium to full coverage if you really want to layer it. It's perfect for me because I have really dark under eyes because I go to sleep very late almost every night. So I like to do like a little bit of an inverse triangle shape on my under eyes, and I will just put a little bit on my forehead just to illuminate my forehead a little bit. And same with the chin. I will just do a dot of concealer on my chin and a thin line on the bridge of my nose, just because that's going to help me when I do the contour or bronzing. So I'll usually go in with the first layer of concealer for my under eyes, and if I notice that they're still dark, I will add another layer. Don't you guys do that ugly face when you're doing your makeup? Every time I have to like look up, I'll just do my ugly face, and when I look at myself in the viewfinder, I'm like, why do I do that? Okay, so now my face is done. I'm going to be using the translucent powder to set that, and while that is baking, I'm going to do my eye look. So I'm just using the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. I've been loving this powder for the past like year. I love it because it doesn't leave me flashback, and that's really important because when you take photos at night, especially with flash, you know, there's always that possibility of having flashback, and we don't want flashback Mary on our face. So you need to buy the good stuff, and I definitely recommend this powder. It doesn't leave your face like really dry, it just sets it to the perfect amount. So I like to use the flat edge of the beauty sponge, and I'll dip it into the powder under my eyes so that can bake. The Photo Finish primer and this powder actually work really well. At the end, my face is looking literally flawless on the areas where I have like really enlarged pores, and I don't know how they do that, but I would recommend you guys use the Photo Finish primer and this setting powder together. I have very sparse brows, if you can already tell. I used to wax them when I was younger, and that's a bad idea. I only waxed them like 2 or 3 times, and they got completely ruined. So be extremely cautious with who you let touch your brows, because they can either make them look good or they can either damage them permanently. I like to use the Brow Contour by Benefit. I use it in the shade Brown Medium, and I'll usually go in with the lighter shade on my whole brow, and like right at the end where I need the most definition, I will go with the darker shade. So I'll brush through my eyebrows first just to kind of get them settled in the place where I want them to be. As I said, I start using the lighter shade at the beginning of my brow, and I like to do a line on the lower part of it, like so, and I'll just kind of drag it up until the tail, so that way I can define where I want my eyebrow to end and where I want it to start, like at the top of it as well. So I don't know if you can tell from afar, but at the beginning of my brows, I didn't really fill them in completely. I just drew a line under the brow and over it so that I can later use that spoolie and disperse the product throughout my whole brow, because you don't want to be walking around with Sharpie looking brows. So I just put a little bit of product right there, and I filled in the rest of my brow. And I did not use a deeper shade today. I wanted to go for a more natural looking brow. So now that I'm done with my whole face, we can move over to the eyes, and I'm particularly excited because I want to use the palette already. And so, as you guys know from the title, we're going for a Valentine's makeup look. This is going to be very easy, beginner friendly. because I'm not the best at doing eyeshadow. So this is going to be just a very simple look that anybody can recreate using this or any other palette, whichever you prefer. I'm going to apply concealer, the same one that I used on my under eyes, to cancel all of those colors. I'm going to start with a very neutral transition shade. The Perfect Storm is actually a perfect shade. Okay, so this is a very light color, a very cool color as well. I think it's gonna be the perfect in shade, so that there is like a perfect even base. And I like to drag it all the way into my inner corner. So now I'm going to go in with the shade called Baby Girl, which is that pretty lilac color at the bottom row of the palette. So I'm going to pick up a pretty good amount on my brush and just like pat it on the eye. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. That actually looks very, very pigmented. I'm actually kind of surprised. I did not expect it to be this pigmented. I'm just going to dab that in the crease of my eye in like a dome shade. Now that I packed the Baby Girl shade, I'm going to go in with Love Without Limits, which is the darker purple shade, and I'm going to go in with this Luxie 239 Precision Shader, and I'm just going to apply it right on the crease of my eye just to create some kind of dimension. And I'm going to take a little bit of this shade because since it's darker, I don't want to mess up the look. From what I'm actually seeing using the palette, it's pretty pigmented. I did not expect it to be this high quality, so I guess you really are getting what you're paying for. I think this is a type of shade that can be better applied with a finger. So I'm going to try and do it with a brush, but if not, I will apply with my finger. So what I just did was use my finger to apply the metallic shade on my eyelid, and I really liked how it turned out. I like it better using my finger than using the brush. So I'm going to be doing it on my other eye so you guys can see it. It's actually a very creamy formula, and it blends in really well with the other shades. So I like to drag it around my lid. I don't want it to be like extremely perfect. It can be very messy because it'll just blend in with the other colors. So I went ahead and popped these lashes in off camera because I am not very good at doing my eyelashes. I just spent like 15 minutes trying to put them on. Now I'm going to dust off that translucent powder that I put on like an hour ago. I'm gonna dust it off and bronze a little bit, put some blush on, highlighter, and then we're done with this makeup look. Now I'm going in with the bronzer. I'm using the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, and I'm going to use a big brush for Morphe. This is the B3. Now I'm going in with the e.l.f. highlighting brush, and I'm going to be dipping it into the Sephora Collection blush. This is in the shade Heated number 16. So with blushes, you have to go in really carefully because some blushes are extremely pigmented, and once you go in with the blush, there's no going back. So I recommend that you start with little amounts and just like build up your way until your preferred amount of blush. Finally, we're going to be highlighting, and I'm going to be using the Makeup Revolution Ultra Glow palette. I've recently been loving a lot this palette. Besides that, it's really cheap. It only cost me $5 at Marshall's. It's a really good quality highlighting palette, and it's a very nice thing to have on your kit if you are starting in makeup. So I will usually go in with the same brush that I use on my blush, and I'll use this shade right here. You can see it gives you a very nice glow, but it's not something that's like very popping. So now we're going to do the shadow on my lower lash line, and I'm going to be dipping on the Baby Girl shade once again. I'll be using the same colors that I use on the top of my eyes. Last but not least, we're going to do lips now. I'm going to be using the KKW90's Icon lipstick to start, and then I will top it off with the Anastasia Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Ashton. Okay guys, so that concludes this video. I hope you liked it. I had so much fun filming this, even though it's been like 3 hours since I started. I've enjoyed every bit of this, and this is my first video, so I just hope to keep improving and putting out content that you guys like and that I'm really interested and invested in. So if you haven't already, please give this video a big fat thumbs up. Also click that subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to be notified every time I post new videos. And comment down below which shade of the Stormi palette was your favorite. Mine was Baby Girl, just because I'm obsessed with the color lilac these days. So that concludes this video, guys. I hope you'll be back for the next one.